Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, BodKinShow. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only BodKinShow. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the BodKins Show.
Good evening, everybody. This is another great episode of the Bodkin Show. You know what it is. It's Sunday night. It is time to react to our NFL Week 5. That was almost a good catch there. A lot of craziness this week. Obviously, my morning started off pretty crappy. You can see it, the Packers. I don't even really want to talk about it right now, but we'll get into it eventually, obviously. All right. I think I was reading a text message. Sorry. We'll be coming to you here. If you missed it this morning, I was on Let's Talk Sports. We did our morning show, and then there was no H&H show, no Head Kicks and Haymakers this morning, so you didn't miss anything there. We will be back next Sunday at 7 a.m. We are just a few weeks short coming up here on the big UFC 280 card. I'm excited for that card. But back to the football here. You guys know it's our Week 5 reaction show. We're ready. And as always, my main man, Kay, with Craig joining me.
How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, Craig? Both our teams took that big, fat, stinking L today. But, I can't, thanks for joining me this evening.
Hey, of course. Ugly loss for both of us this week. Bears lost. We'll get into the games here a little bit, but they almost made you feel like they had a chance there, and then they did what the stinking Bears do.
Yeah, Kitty's just messaged me. He is going to be joining us a little bit later. He's got finishing up some schoolwork, but so it's just a two-man booth until my man gets here a little bit later. Yeah, we were just Alan, we were just talking about this trade right before Falcons trading linebacker Deion Jones to the Browns. Craig, go ahead and give your quick thoughts on that. The Deion Jones is on the IR, but headed to the Browns here to, when he gets healthy, to kind of give some Browns some running relief because we saw the Chargers run all over him.
Yeah, that Browns defense has been struggling a little bit, and this kind of just shows, the Browns are playing the long game here. They got the, Deshaun Watson serving the suspension, and I think that they've just kind of got their eyes a little bit further down the road, and this trade just kind of solidifies that a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. That's kind of how I feel too. The Falcons, they didn't draft him. He was like one of their, I think, our first overall pick a couple years ago. He still got 4 years deal, but that was set up by the old regime. New regime said, "Hey, get out of here. Doesn't fit their system or what else here." So let's go ahead and let's start off with that. Let me share here. Share. We'll get these scores up here. Let's go ahead and do this. And we need that. Oh, we don't want that one. That's for sure. That one. We'll get these. Oh, and add a stream. That's what I needed. Wrong button here, folks. Technical difficulties when the producer's not here. All right, Craig, let's go ahead and get into that snooze fest of a game Thursday night. There may not be a more disappointing team than the Denver Broncos. The Colts, somebody had to win this game, and the Colts were able to do so in such a bad snooze fest of a game. Colts win 12-9. I mean, there's not even anything to really talk about. Neither one of there wasn't even a single touchdown. Matt Ryan, 2 interceptions. I mean, nothing receiving-wise. Alex Pierce, 8 receptions, 81 yards. We know no Jonathan Taylor. Naheem Hines got hurt early in that game. The Broncos, I mean, Russ Wilson just had surgery on Friday to repair like a shoulder labrum, but I guess he's supposed to be back by Sunday. But I mean, he looked bad. Had a wide open receiver, KJ Hamler, on the end of the game. Missed him, but I mean, this game absolutely stunk. Craig, do both these two teams stink? And is Denver the most disappointing team in the league?
Yeah, I think both these teams stink. We were kind of talking about it in group as that game was going on, which one of these teams is more disappointing. And I kind of said whichever one loses this game, and the Broncos lost that game. So, I mean, it's hard to look around the league and see a team more disappointing than the Broncos. They spent all this money to bring in Russ. And, I mean, it is a new coaching staff. There's going to be some growing pains, but they have just looked horrible. And Russ is, I mean, missing wide open guys. You saw the frustration out of KJ Hamler there at the end. I mean, that's just building up. That was not the only play that Russ was missing guys. The broadcast booth was kind of exposing some of it live during the game, that Russ was just missing dudes wide open. And so, yeah, I mean, that Broncos defense has kept him around in a lot of these games. The Colts, on the other hand, I mean, they got the win in that game, but I don't feel any better about them, especially the way they won that game. I mean, it was ugly, and they didn't look any better than the Broncos. So yeah. I definitely worry about both these teams. I don't believe in the Colts, and I definitely don't believe in the Broncos. I feel like after that game, the Broncos have got to be classified more disappointing than the Colts, just because, I mean, look where the Colts are at in their division. You know, you get hot, you know, for a month and you're in the lead. So where the Broncos are sitting in the AFC West, that's a way, way worse spot to be.
Yeah, Keith Eagle said, set offensive football back 60 years. I can't disagree with that. It was bad as it all gets out. I mean, geez, it was, 12-9. The Mariners Blue Jays had a higher scoring baseball score than that, I think, the other night. So that's how bad that freaking game was. Alan, we'll get into the Texans and Jags game. Didn't look much better, but at least they had a tutter in that game. Exactly. Just as bad as it gets on that game. I think you're right. Denver is in worse shape, right? Because that division's tougher. You got the Chiefs there, who have obviously, look like the class of that division still. The Chargers are going to charge her, and we'll get into them here in just a little bit as well. But, Raiders got to play tomorrow. Raiders and Chiefs play tomorrow night. But Denver looks bad. You mentioned it. Colts could go on or still could go make the playoffs. As bad as they've looked, the fact that they're in the division they're in, looks like, they could still make the playoffs. I mean, because the Titans barely were able to hang on today. We'll talk about that here in just a minute as well. So let's get the next game here, Craig. My computer, there we go. We go across the pond. My Packers have a huge lead. They were up 17-3. Then they were up 20-10 at half. The freaking Giants come all the way back. Daniel Jones didn't throw that bad interception. Looked good at times, even on the hobbled leg. Saquon Barkley did what Saquon has been doing all season, 13 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Two running touchdowns here by Daniel Bellinger on a trick play. Gary Brightwell had a touchdown. The Giants are just able to grind this game out and come all the way back. The Packers, I felt like in the second half especially, didn't run the ball. They didn't run the ball particularly well all game. Only 13 carries, 63 yards. 6 carries, 34 yards for A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Are you kidding me? That's the thing. You wouldn't even run the ball 20 times in this game. We had a huge lead. We just decided to go out in the second half and start slinging it all over the game, all over with a big lead. Run the freaking football. We have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. We say it week in and week out that these are our two best offensive players. Stop throwing the ball. I know Aaron Rodgers is great, and he looked good in the first half. That was probably the best offensive we've looked in the first half. But get back to running the game. It's a damn shame we didn't even run the ball 20 times with those two good running backs that we have. Randall Cobb, 7 receptions, 99 yards. Alan Lazard had a touchdown. Mercedes Lewis had a touchdown. Our defense just did not couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't stop the nosebleed, and I think it's just because they're on the field too damn long because we're going 3 and out because we're trying to do 20-yard passes every freaking time for 3 plays. Run the damn ball. Craig, what's your thoughts here on the Giants and the Packers?
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with the fact that the Packers should have been running the ball. I mean, we know the struggles that they've had with the young wide receiver core. I mean, you said it, Randall Cobb, 7 catches. Was he leading the team today? I think so.
Yeah.
When Randall Cobb is your leading wide receiver, that's an issue. I mean, I don't care who the quarterback is, and that's not a knock against Randall Cobb. That's just, I mean, you've got to have better production out there from your wide receiver core. It was weird, man, because the Giants are a team that you think Green Bay would have just been able to pound that run against and, kind of keep it a low-scoring game. But, man, in the second half, for whatever reason, Green Bay they couldn't get the offense going. The Giants gained a little bit of confidence, a little bit of momentum, and, I mean, the game just changed. And then they're late, man. Aaron Rodgers getting the ball batted down 2 plays in a row, 3rd and 4th down. That's just very uncharacteristic, man. So, the Packers are going to be in a lot of games like this, I think. We saw it last week, too, against the Patriots, where they're just going to be a lot of gritty games where they're going to have to find ways to grind out a win. I think more times than not, Packers are probably still going to win games like these, but they're going to take some losses in games like this, too, man, and this is one of them.
Yeah, the kudos to the Giants defense. I mean, I just ripped the Packers, but kudos to the Giants defense. You said it. They 2 batted balls down there. That's usually, a game that they pull out, and they didn't. I mean, kudos to the Giants. Is Brian Daboll your Coach of the Year candidate right now? I mean, no receivers for the Giants, and 4-1. If I would have told you, Craig, at the beginning of the year, the Giants are going to start out 4-1, you probably would have asked me who my weed man is.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got to be in the conversation. There's some other guys that would be in the conversation as well, not just around the league, but, I mean, even in that division, So I can't say he's definitely like the lead candidate, but he's for sure in the conversation. I mean, where the Giants are right now is definitely a surprise. If you would have said the Giants were going to be 4-1, I would have told you were absolutely crazy. And then if you would have showed me their first 5 opponents, I would have told you that you were probably still crazy, but not as crazy. They haven't had the most difficult road here. The first 5 games, the Packers definitely a surprise that they pulled that one out, though. So, kudos to what Daboll's got going there with the Giants.
So Alan's chiming in here again. He's saying him, Sirianni, yes, even McCarthy in that mix. I won't say McCarthy. I will say Dan Quinn more so than McCarthy, Craig. I do think Sirianni, give it to the Eagles, and Jalen remain undefeated. We'll talk about that game in here just a minute as well. But are you kind of here with Alan? I'm saying I give more kudos to Dan Quinn in that defense than I ever will Mike McCarthy.
I mean, I think you got to obviously Dan Quinn and what he's done with the defense there. And we've been saying it for weeks that defense is what's keeping them in games and that's what's helping them win. But I think anytime that a team loses their starting quarterback and goes undefeated for a month while he's out, the head coach has got to get some credit and he's got to get some props. I know that's your boy, Mike McCarthy. He gave you your last Super Bowl ring. You should show that man some respect. I know you hate him, though, and you never will. And I really don't even like giving him any respect. But, I mean, in the position where the Cowboys are at, man, he's right now he's got to be in the conversation.
Speaking of conversation, I mean, Bill Belichick, we need to apologize to Bill Belichick because I think we were both on Detroit and on our preview show. And Bailey Zappi, out of all people, the Patriots defense just stifles what was a Lions offense that was absolutely just – clicking. Even in losses, they were putting up 30 some odd points. I did not see a donut coming here from the Lions offense at all. Jared Goff, just an awful game, 229 yards, 1 interception. More importantly, they couldn't get the running game going. We know no Swift, but only 15 carries for 56 yards for Jamal Williams. Amon St. Brown was in his game back from the injury, was nowhere. TJ Hawkinson, only 1 reception. Josh Reynolds led the way with 6 receptions for 92. You look at the Patriots offense. Bailey Zappi, 188 yards, 1 touchdown. More importantly, Ramondre Stevenson, 25 carries, 161 yards. They weren't going to make Zappi do a whole lot, and they did that by running all over him. This Lions defense, I gave them my turd of the week last week, and they didn't rebound from being the turd. They're still a turd because they got run all over again. Jacoby Myers, 7 receptions, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. Craig, what's your thoughts here on Lions and Patriots? And I'm going to say this. I think Bailey Zappi should be just the straight-up backup quarterback for Zach for is it Zach Jones, right? Yeah. Is that
Mac.
his name? Mac Jones. Yeah, gosh, Zach. Mac Jones over Brian Hoyer because, hey, I mean, Zappi did all right.
Hey, Zappi's, he's holding down the fort right now. He took the Packers into overtime, and then, it's the Lions. It is the Lions, but just last week, you're seeing the graphics and stuff about how the Lions are like top 5 in offensive efficiency, and they're scoring a ton of points, and Jared Goff is, spreading the ball around, and, nothing. Nobody got going, like you said, in this game, and that Bill Belichick defense, just shut them down. And maybe it's a little bit humbling to the Lions offense. Maybe they're not as spectacular maybe as they looked there in a couple of games, kind of bringing them down to earth. But this was a big surprise. I'm not as surprised that the Patriots won this game, but 29-0, man. With Zappi at the quarterback, that's not how I saw this game playing out.
Yeah, I couldn't think of Mac Jones's name. Tanner's chiming in here, says I'm still drunk after the Packers lost. I wish. I haven't had zero drinks until I have my gallbladder taken out on Friday. So after that, it'll be maybe about a week or 2 after that. The drinking game will be back on. So I think that's what makes it watching the Packers lose so sufferable. Is I can't have anything to drink to wash them down. The sorrows. So makes it a little worse here. Alan's chiming in here again. Zappi did great today. He did. Respectable. He did what you want, your backup quarterback. And kudos to the Patriots. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot to carry the team. Obviously, we knew they were going to run the ball a lot. But the defense showed up and played. Bill Belichick, that's what he's going to do. I thought it was a great Bill. That's a coach. Coach him up, because if you look at the talent on both rosters, Detroit's probably got the more talented team. Let's get into maybe the game of the day. Chargers and Browns here. This was a back and forth game, and the Chargers have a chance. So it's 4th and 2 on the Browns side. They should have a minute and a half left. They go for it. The Browns stop them. They make one play in field goal range. They get ready to kick the game winner. Miss. The missed kick kind of bails out, I guess, the Chargers and Brandon Zaley. But Browns actually do cover. The spread was 2.5 here. But Chargers win in just such a back-and-forth game. Justin Herbert, 228 yards, 1 touchdown. Not great. Austin Eckler had himself another great game. 16 carries, 173 yards, and a touchdown. Joshua Kelly added in a tutter. Eckler also caught for a touchdown. Mike Evans continues to perform without Keenan Allen in the lineup now. The second game in a row, 10 receptions for 134. And then you look at the Browns. It's Nick Chubb or nothing really here. Jacoby Brissett, bad interception in the end zone. He did have 1 touchdown. Nick Chubb, 2 rushing touchdowns, 134 rushing yards. Kareem Hunt, 11 carries for 47 and a touchdown. Amari Cooper did have 7 receptions for 76 yards and a touchdown. Njoku added 6 for 88. But Craig, the missed kick bails them out. And, you know, how bad Jacoby also had a bad pick here. Browns, this is a game the Browns should have won.
Yeah, I mean, and you could say that about the game last week too. So the Browns are finding themselves in a spot here. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was watching a Browns game, and they showed the graphic on how much Jacoby Brissett takes care of the football, and it was like he was only behind guys, you know, like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, and the amount of pass attempts that he would have in between his interceptions. But man, he's throwing them at the worst time possible. I threw a real bad one that cost him the game last week, and then the one in the end zone, you could say, cost him the game this week. So, I mean, this is kind of how I saw this game. I took the Chargers on the money line and the Browns to cover because both these teams kind of find themselves in these just ugly, close games late, and I just thought that it would be like this. Staley, another just bad coaching decision late in the game, and I mean, we've seen this from him more than once now. And he got bailed out there with the missed kick. Otherwise, the Browns, like you said, they should have won this game.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm with you on that. It was a game that the Browns should have won. Hold on one. Kenny's email or texting me real fast and trying to.
The Chargers as a whole, I would say, are pretty disappointing. The one difference I think between the Chargers and the Broncos is any Sunday you feel like the Chargers can go out there and beat anybody, and the Broncos I just don't feel that way about. But the Chargers are a team that can also go out there and lose to anybody, so you just never know what you're going to get with them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think the Chargers going to Charger. I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about that. You know, I mention it every game almost. And then we got Alan's chiming in here, says, y'all want to talk surprise? I didn't expect the Browns to do this well until Watson came back. I mean, I'm kind of in agreement here, but they're playing well, but I think they're kind of what I thought they would be at the same time. What's your thoughts there, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look great right now because of how bad Pittsburgh looks, but I picked the Browns to finish last in the division. So, I mean, I got to say that I'm kind of right there with Alan. The only person I know that had true belief in the Browns outside of Cleveland was Kenny, and he's not here to defend that right now. But yeah, I mean, I had Cleveland finishing last in the division. So how well they have played is kind of a surprise to me. I mean, they should have won last week. They should have won this week. They could be sitting a whole lot better than what their record is.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Kenny's the only one that had that as well. He said he sent the slides. Trying to. Here. I didn't get them. All right. Anyway, let's get into the next game here. Yeah. Alan's chiming in here talking about the Sunday night game. He said Lamar just missed 2 wide open guys. I need Lamar to do pretty bad just so he can I got him. I'm going against him in fantasy. So let's do this here.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar just missed a wide open touchdown on 4th down. I mean, wide open.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to download. Kenny made the slides. Uh-oh. And trying to get them downloaded. All right. I think we're good here. Let me try to stop sharing this screen here. And let me get to, extra slides. Oh, shoot. Well, that's not working. Hold on. Well, that'll be all right. We'll just go back to doing what we was doing. Let me pull this back up here. I wonder if I did this. Here we go. Let's do that. All right, that's that. Hey, so here's, we'll get back to that. All right, that's better. Here we go. Boom. Boom. There's the scores. So there's all the scores. There we go. We'll take this off. I think we're good, Craig. I think we got everything. Here we go. We figured it all out. So now that was the what game we just talked about? We just talked to Browns and the Chargers, huh?
Just the Browns Chargers.
All right. Sorry for the delay, folks. We were just trying to fix everything here. Technical difficulties when our producer's not around. So let's get into the next one here. I like to pull up. It's the we'll talk your Bears here. Bears had a chance here. Bears Vikings. Your Bears had a chance. This is another back and forth game. Minnesota had a huge lead. Bears come all the way back. They finally find some sort of offense, Craig, and then gets ripped out on the game-winning drive. Bears fumble. The Bears fumble it. Vikings sneak one out here. 29-22. They cover the spread. Justin Fields, 208 yards and a touchdown. David Montgomery, 12 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown. This might have been the best offense the Bears have looked all season. Kirk Cousins, 296 yards and a touchdown. Dalvin Cook, 18 carries, 94 yards and 2 tutters. Justin Jefferson, 12 receptions for 154 yards. Craig, was this the best your Bears have looked all season? Even in a loss?
Offensively, probably, I guess, at least in the second half. You saw spurts of it. Darnell Mooney made a heck of a catch today. I don't think this is the best we've seen the run game. They weren't really able to get the run game going that well. Dave Montgomery was back, did have a touchdown, had a couple nice plays. But I think as far as Justin Fields in the passing game, yeah, this is the best that they've looked. He was able to spread the ball around. They were able to get things going. They actually, for the first time, I think, looked like they were kind of getting a rhythm going. They were in rhythm, and things looked like they were kind of working. So, it's a positive moving forward. It's a bad way to lose the game there at the end. I would have liked to seen the Bears, have a chance there with a minute. Justin Fields, like I said, things were kind of clicking, and he was looking better. And then, the wide receiver used to play for the Vikings. There with the Bears now, a shot at redemption. Just go out of bounds, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, Bears fall to 1-4. Vikings still first place in that division. I was kind of hoping the Bears, after the Packers lost, the Bears would help us out there. Let's get into the next one here. Another wild game. The Saints, call this the Taysom Hill game, boys, because the Saints able to beat Seattle 39-32. Geno Smith still continues to cook. I think I tweeted out on Thursday night, it looks like the Seahawks are the ones that upgraded at quarterback, because Geno Smith, 16-25, 260 yards, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker, the third, 8 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown. Rashad Penny only had 8 carries for 54, but even worse, it got worse for him as he broke his tibia. So it looks like Kenneth Walker, the third, will be kind of running the show from here on out. Tyler Lockett had himself a day, 5 receptions, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 5 catches, 88 yards and a touchdown. You look at the Saints. I mean, I said it was the Taysom Hill game. He threw for a touchdown, rushed for 3 touchdowns. 9 carries, 112 yards and 3 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara finally shows up to play football, folks. 23 carries, 103 yards. Also had 6 receptions, 91 yards. Chris Olave had a touchdown, 4 for 54. Adam Troutman, 2 for 32 and a touchdown. This looked like the best the Saints have done all season here, Craig, in what was a wild game.
Yeah, I don't know about if it was the best they looked. It was definitely a wild game, and it was a game of just big plays, man. And it was just every time somebody scored, the next team was making a big play, big play, big play. And it was just Geno Smith and Taysom Hill basically back and forth shooting it out. I don't think it's a sustainable way to win games for New Orleans. But I mean, we've seen it before in the past. 2-3 times a year, you're going to get these big games out of Taysom Hill. So it's not super surprising, to get it against Seattle here at home. I wasn't expecting it the way Seattle's been playing, the way the Saints have been playing. I picked Seattle to cover the spread here. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think this is a very sustainable way to win football games for the Saints. They were just able to rack off a bunch of big plays.
Let me ask you this: if you're the Saints, Andy Dalton has not. He hasn't looked awful. Are you going with Andy Dalton the rest of the way? Or are you going back to Jameis here? And quick baseball update. Alan's chiming in here. Mets have been eliminated. Padres won that game. I believe it was 6-0. So Padres move on. Mets are eliminated. That's good because I don't really like the Mets. So, but you riding with Andy Dalton and maybe this hybrid of Taysom Hill combination? Or are you giving the ball back to Jameis Winston?
It's tough. I usually say you do what is winning you games, and honestly, the game in London and this game today probably is the best that the Saints have looked. But I feel like you hand it back to Jameis, and you just do that with a leash on it.
How short of a leash, though?
And not a very long one. I mean, if Jameis goes out there and you lose, 2 in a row or 3 out of the next 4, I think you pull him.
I'll agree with that. Let's get into the next one. Here we got the Dolphins went into New York. Teddy Bridgewater gets hurt early. After that, they bring in Skylar Thompson. Kudos to you if you had him playing any minutes on your bingo card this football season. But it was a close game. But then in the fourth quarter, the Jets just took over, scoring 21 unanswered points. They win 40-17. I mentioned the Skylar Thompson. There's not much here. Raheem Mostert had a huge game, 18 carries for 113 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 7 receptions, 47 yards, but even worse, he got banged up. I think he was in a walking boot after the game. And then Jalen Waddle, only 3 receptions for 23. That's going to happen when you have your third-string quarterback in there. More importantly, here's Zach Wilson. Didn't have the touchdown, but more importantly, didn't have any interceptions. Only 210 rushing yards or passing yards. Sorry, but Breece Hall and Michael Carter, the 1-2 punch here. Breece Hall, 18 carries, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. Michael Carter, 10 carries, 21 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Braxton Berrios also ran in for a touchdown. Zach Wilson did have a rushing touchdown. Craig, are the Jets for real here? The 2-0 with Zach Wilson at quarterback, or are they just beating some? I don't want to say the Dolphins are a bad team, but they're just banged up team.
Yeah, I don't want to say the Dolphins are a bad team, but any team with their third-string quarterback isn't a great team, isn't even really a good team. And then last week they beat Pittsburgh, and we can see that Pittsburgh's not a very good team. So I'm not ready to buy into the Jets fully. I did say last week the Jets have got a little bit of swagger now that Zach Wilson is back. I think that they do. But this, like you said, this game was 19-17 in the fourth quarter. So the score looks like it was a blowout, but it wasn't that way the majority of the game. And like we mentioned, the Dolphins had their third string quarterback. So if Teddy plays the whole game, who knows how this would have turned out. I do think the Jets have found a little bit of confidence in themselves. So we'll see if that can help carry them forward. And I mean, the Dolphins, they obviously have an issue here at quarterback with Tua being hurt, and then, Teddy not being able to come back into the game. But I don't think the Dolphins are a bad team. They have to get healthy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, a couple weeks ago, the Dolphins looked really good, like one of the best teams in the league. And ever since then, it's just been disastrous. After that Bills game, they've just been banged up and been getting hurt. And each week it gets worse and worse. Let's get into the next game here. It's Atlanta 15-21. The Bucs were had this game, looked like they were going to win this game handedly, but then in the fourth quarter, Atlanta, it was 21-0 at one point. Atlanta scores 15 unanswered, has a chance they stop, huge sack on third down, but the ref in a absolutely the worst call of the day has to go to that ref, roughing the passer. We've all seen the footage. Guy just kind of wraps up. Tom Brady is taking him to the ground, and I guess because it's Tom Brady and you can't touch him, or maybe they just felt bad for Tom because he's going through a divorce. I don't know. But either way, bad call. They call roughing the passer. Bucs are able to ink this one out. Mariota, 147 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyler Algier, 13 carries for 45 yards. Not much in the receiving of Drake London, only 4 receptions for 35. Zacchaeus, 2 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown. The Bucs, Tom Brady, 351 and a touchdown. Lenny Fournette, 14 carries, 56 yards and a touchdown. But more importantly, Lenny led the team in receptions, 10 receptions for 83 yards and 1 touchdown. Remember, there was a time when they said Leonard Fournette can't catch the damn ball. Well, I guess that's a long time ago because he's catching it now. Mike Evans, 4 receptions, 81 yards. Craig, what's your thoughts here on Bucs Atlanta, and how bad of a call was that made earlier today?
Well, the call was terrible, man. And I wasn't watching any of this game until I was watching the Bears game. When the Bears game ended, it turned over to that game, and I was watching it late, and it was that drive. And right before that penalty, there was a defensive holding penalty on a third down that was very skeptical at the least. I mean, there wasn't very much on that play where that holding got called, and then the tackle on Tom Brady. I mean, what are you supposed to do? You're just supposed to wrap him up in his blanket and set him down gently and kiss him on his forehead whenever you give him a sack. Because I mean, there was nothing malicious about that hit, and that's a roughing the passer in the NFL now. I mean, I just don't know how you're supposed to sack a guy like Tom Brady whenever you can't even do that. Tampa, I mean, like you said, Lenny led the way in receptions. That just, I mean, tells me that the receivers are still kind of banged up. Godwin, Evans are out there playing, but Tom Brady's getting the ball out of his hand, and he's getting it to Leonard Fournette. It shows the trust that they've got in Leonard Fournette. I know some people thought that Rachaad White was going to take a piece of that backfield. It definitely looks like that's Leonard Fournette's. And Atlanta looks like they're going to be one of those teams to just kind of hang around and not pull games out. We've kind of said that before. They were getting it handed to them. I mean, really the majority of this game, they made it close late. And if not for the bad call, I mean, they could have had a chance to try to pull this one out. So it's a tough break for Atlanta. Tampa, squeaks out the win. They haven't looked good at home so far, so it was a good win for them, something to build on moving forward. But still not that impressed with what Tampa's got going on right now.
Yeah, I'm not either. I mean, we talk about Green Bay's offense struggling. I think Tampa Bay's offense is just as bad, if not worse, than Green Bay's with these 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I know that Tampa Bay has not had Chris Godwin for most of the season, but I mean, they've got to get it going too, because I mean, they're averaging maybe, close to 20 points a game. It felt like last week, and it may be because they just got down so early and big to the Chiefs that their offense finally came alive. But after that, it just It does not look great, but I mean, it just kind of shows you this is a week-to-week thing. I mean, I know it's 5 weeks, and there's not really it seems like we are expecting a trend to happen or things to happen. It's just not quite happening here. One thing that is a trend, and that's Carson Wentz still sucks at football, Craig. The Commanders get it all the way down, chance to win the game here in Washington at home. It's on their 1 yard line. They have 0 timeouts, so they have to throw it 3 times. And Carson Wentz threw 3 interceptions, and the last one counted. Interception. Titans win here 21-17. Ryan Tannehill only 181 yards passing, 1 touchdown. I mean, it's the Derrick Henry show. 28 carries, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Titans are getting back to what they do best, playing good defense and just pounding that rock with Derrick Henry. Carson Wentz, 2 touchdowns. Like I said, the 1 bad interceptions. Did have 359 yards passing. Should have threw 1 to Terry McLaurin, but hey. Brian Robinson Jr. coming back. Welcome back, buddy. 9 carries, 22 yards. Antonio Gibson, where was he at? 3 carries for only 6 yards. Dami Brown, 2 receptions, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin only 5 for 76. Craig, what's your thoughts here on Titans and Commanders? Titans, I mean, kind of rebounded. This is their 3rd win in a row after starting 0-2. 3-2 now, and the Commanders have lost their 4th straight game.
Yeah, it's kind of what I expected here. This is, I mean, just the type of matchup I felt like the Titans could play their ball game. And I picked the Titans to win this division, man. I know they lost a lot of pieces in the offseason, but I just trust Mike Vrabel. And as long as Derrick Henry stays healthy and they can run the ball and play some solid defense, they're going to be a tough team to beat. And like you said, there's not a whole lot of trends going, but one trend that is going is Carson Wentz definitely does stink. And the best thing for a defense that needs a big play late in the game is Carson Wentz being on the other side, because he's going to throw an interception, and if you drop it and don't make the play, good news, he's going to throw one on the very next play. And that's what he did down there. And I mean, just enough to give you hope and throw it away. I mean, I guess that's Carson Wentz for you. Every now and again, he's going to give you those big time games, but for the majority of the time, this is what you get.
Yeah, Alan's chiming in here. He said, in the great NFC East, the Commanders are the only ugly duckling. Yeah, I wouldn't even just say they're ugly. They're fugly. That's how bad the Commanders are. They're fugly. So that's, I mean, I think it's going to be Ron Rivera's job. His seat's got to be getting hot. It'll be interesting to see what happens to that organization. We know the Dan Snyder stuff. I think the best thing is to sell the team, fire Ron Rivera, let the owner pick his new coach and GM, and go from there. Let's get into the next one here. Oh.
I think you're right.
Go ahead.
Mean, I'm a big Ron Rivera fan, but I mean, I think it's the proof is in the pudding at this point, and I think it's definitely getting close to the end of the road. Carson Wentz is not going to be the guy to save your job.
No, I mean, shoot, at this point in time, they might go back to Heineke, or maybe Alex Smith will come out of retirement and on his one good leg and try to play or something. I mean, Fitzmagic or somebody. They've had a string of guys. I've looked for a string of quarterbacks, really since the RG3 days. I mean, Kirk Cousins was there for a while. I mean, Kurt looks like a world beater. I mean, Carson's just like the Dollar General version of Kirk Cousins there. Let's get into the next one here. Where was the next one on that list? I missed it. Oh, Texans and the Jags. I mean, Alan kind of mentioned it earlier here. This game, only 1 touchdown, 13-6. The Texans get their first win of the season. Can't even find them on this list here. Oh, there they are. There's the stats. There's not much stats here. I mean, Davis Mills, only 140 yards passing. I mean, Dameon Pierce continues to, prove to be an elite back here. 26 carries, 99 yards, and the touchdown. Nico Collins led the way in receiving for 4 receptions, 65 yards. What has gone wrong with Jacksonville? Trevor Lawrence, 2 interceptions. One of them was in the end zone. Travis Etienne, 10 carries, 71 yards. Marvin Jones, 7 reception, 104 yards. Craig, I can't make out this Jacksonville team. 1 week they look really good, and then these next, even in the loss against the Eagles, didn't look bad, but today they looked awful. But I didn't know this. The Texans have won 8 in a row against this Jacksonville Jaguar team.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. But I still would have took the Jags in this game. The Jags have given me something, to think that they can bring on a Sunday. I mean, we've seen them look good out here. We saw what they did to the Chargers. We saw them beat the Colts. And then they went into Philly, and I mean, we know how good Philly is. So I didn't read too much into that loss against the Jags, but then they come out here and score 6 points against the Texans. Like you said, Trevor Lawrence with the bad turnover in the end zone there. And they're just, I mean, it looked like they had the offense figured out there for a couple of weeks. And then here the last 2 weeks, something's missing. So pump the brakes a little bit on Trevor, I think, maybe, and pump the brakes on the Jags. I'm happy for the Texans, man. Lovie Smith got a first win there as a head coach. So as a Bears fan, I love to see that. But yeah, this was, to me, the biggest surprise here is just how bad that Jags offense has looked.
Yeah, it looked bad today. Speaking of bad, the Panthers continue to look bad. And what's possibly, it's being reported, what could have been Matt Rule's, last game. Pro Football Talk is reporting that Matt Rule will probably be fired tomorrow. He was 1-24 when the opposing team scores 17 points or more. So the 49ers scored way more than that, 37-15. I mean, it was a rout. 49ers continue to get banged up. Robbie Gould got banged up. One of their top corners tore his ACL. 49ers getting banged up, but still finding ways to win. Jimmy G here, 253 for 2 touchdowns. Jeff Wilson had himself a day, 17 carries, 120 yards and a touchdown. Tevin Coleman added a touchdown. Not much in the receiving. I mean, you look at George Kittle, 5 receptions for 47. Tevin Coleman had a receiving touchdown. Debo had 2 receptions and for 20 yards and a touchdown. Look at the Panthers. It just gets worse and worse. Baker Mayfield got hurt. They've had to bring in P.J. Walker. Sam Darnold still hurt. Baker, 215 and an interception. Christian McCaffrey, 14 carries, 54 yards and a touchdown. Nothing in the receiving game really for anybody. I mean, Craig, it's time for Matt Rule to just, say goodbye, right? And maybe catch a offensive, maybe catch a college job here.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got this job because what he did in college, and we've seen this happen before, man, guys that just kind of come out of nowhere in college, that get this name, come to the NFL, and become a bust. I was going to say it just a minute ago when we were talking about Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera left Carolina to go to Washington. They brought in Matt Rule. Which one of those guys survives his job the longest? Probably Rivera, because it doesn't look like Rule's going to make it to the end of the season. My guess is that Rivera probably does, and then gets the axe at the end of the year. But yeah, man, Carolina's just, they're in a bad spot, man. And if the reports that you're reading are right, and Matt Rule does get fired tomorrow, what direction are they going? They're going to bring in a new coach. Where are they going with quarterback? What are they going to do with CMC? They're going to keep him around, or are they just going to hit the full rebuild mode? So Carolina's in a spot for sure, but they stink. As far as the 49ers, man, I mean, they're playing 49er football, right? Run the ball, pound the run. Jimmy G made a little bit of throws. He made some mistakes as well. George Kittle had a fumble. So, I mean, the Niners didn't play a beautiful game, but they still go on the road and win by over 20. So they didn't play bad, and Carolina stinks. So,
yeah, Carolina absolutely stinks. It's time for Matt Rule to go. Let's get into the next one. Maybe surprise of the day. I mean, what is going on here with the Rams? They only scored 10 points. The Super Bowl champs, has not been a nice Super Bowl run here or anything. I mean, they don't look like anything like they did last year at the end of last year, only scoring 10 points. The Cowboys, Cooper Rush continues to stay unbeaten. Cowboys win 22-10. Cooper Rush, I mean, again, it's not great. It's not fancy, but he finds a way to win games. A large part is due to that defense. A heavy dose of the run game. Zeke Elliott, 22 carries for 78 yards. Pollard, 8 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb had 5 receptions for 53. I mean, Matthew Stafford's 308 yards, 1 interception. He just seemed like he was under duress all day. Cam Akers got hurt in this game. Cooper Kupp's going to do Cooper Kupp things, and then it's just a bunch of real dog shit after that. Cooper Kupp had 7 receptions, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Craig, I mean, what's your panic meter here on the Super Bowl champs?
I mean, it's definitely getting higher. I think the Rams have, 5 weeks in now, watching them play football, you can see they've got issues. They get issues on the offensive line. And one of the things, man, I can kind of see, and, we got a taste of it as Cubs fans, man. When the Cubs won that World Series, a lot of the guys on the team just lost that spark. And I feel like, Aaron Donald's still a beast. Best football player on the field when he's out there, but now that he got that ring, has he lost a little bit? They don't have Von Miller there on the defense that, another veteran that was after that ring. They just looked a lot hungrier last year. They looked like they had a purpose, and they almost looked like, a team that got what they wanted. And they're just playing a little bit flat now. And so, I think the panic meter for the Rams is definitely rising, especially with the way that the 49ers look. So I think as a Rams fan, you have to be concerned. The Cowboys, man, the defense is for real. Cooper Rush is doing what he needs to do, which is just enough. And undefeated as a starter, we can still put the Cooper Rush needs to stay the starter stuff to rest. But he's doing everything that he needs to do to be able to keep his team in the game. And that defense has done plenty enough to win games with Cooper Rush. So kudos to everything the Cowboys got going on. But the Rams, for sure, they've got issues on both sides of the ball, really. And they should definitely be concerned.
Yeah, I thought Matthew Stafford looked like he was back in Detroit. As bad as that offensive line looks, Alan's chiming in. Obviously, a Cowboys fan here. Cowboys defense, 5 sacks, 3 turnovers, blocked punt, and a touchdown. Yeah, kudos to 100% to the Cowboys defense. They've carried that team. Dan Quinn he's saving Mike McCarthy's job, and he's probably earning himself a head coaching job, what he's doing with that defense. You said it, usually Aaron Donald's the best player on the football field, but Micah Parsons might be right behind him in this, in this day and age. Micah Parsons is an absolutely dog on that defense. He's changed that defense, whether it's him and Dan Quinn. Kudos to Dan Quinn, but kudos to Micah Parsons.
Yeah, for sure, man. And we've been saying it here basically since Dak went out that, Dallas's defense is good enough to keep them in games, and they've definitely stepped up to the challenge. And, they got to be happy with where they're at right now.
Yeah, let's get into the last game here. Eagles remain unbeaten at 5-0 at 20-17. Cardinals missed a game time field goal. I guess Kyler slid on 3rd down, just shy of the first down marker. Couldn't pick up the first down. They kick the field goal, miss. Eagles win, remain unbeaten at 5-0. Jalen Hurts here, 239 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Jalen Hurts did have 2 rushing touchdowns, 15 carries for 61 yards. Miles Sanders, 15 carries for 58 yards. You look at the receiving, Dallas Goedert led the way, 8 catches for 95. Devontae Smith, 10 catches for 87. And you look at the Cardinals here, Kyler Murray, 250 for 1 touchdown, 1 interception. James Conner, 9 carries, 55 yards, but got banged up in this game. Marquise Brown, 8 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Rondale Moore, 7 receptions for 68 yards. Craig, what's your thoughts here on Eagles staying undefeated in Arizona? We talk about it. I feel like they might. if it weren't for as bad as the Broncos and some of these other teams playing, they might be the most disappointing team in the league.
Yeah, we've been saying, I mean, Arizona hasn't looked good very often this year. They played a lot of bad football in a lot of quarters. Lucky for them, they've been able to find a way to win a couple of games. When we made our picks earlier in the week, I took Arizona to cover the spread, and I said I was just going with my gut. That was basically all that I had because Philly has just looked like a far superior team. But I just thought that this game was going to be tough for them to go in and win on the road. And Arizona usually finds ways to, even games that they're losing, they find ways to kind of bring it back and get the score looking a little bit closer than the game was. But this was a tough one for Philly here. And, Kyler Murray slid a little early. Might have had the chance to get the first down there. So they got to kick the field goal, and they miss it. So tough break for Arizona. Philly keeps on rolling, man. Sometimes when things are going your way, they're going your way. And so right now Philly's riding the hot hand, and that missed field goal helps them ride to another victory and stay undefeated.
Yeah, next week they got the Cowboys, as Alan's pointing out here. That's going to be kind of, huge matchups in that division. Maybe Dak's coming back. We'll see. That's kind of up in the air right now as far as, where he's going to be at. I think they're going to try to see a doctor on Tuesday, and we'll go from there. So it looks like, man, Kenny's got the picks here loaded up here for this week already. Awful week for myself. I went 3-10. My best week was week 2 when I went 10-6. Worst week was 5-11. That I outdid myself this week because I went 3-10. And then Craig, you were 8-5. Your best week was 11-5. Worst week was week 2 when you went 9-7. So you continue to. This will be your worst week unless you got Baltimore, which there was +3 Baltimore. They're up right now. It looks like that game could be a push, but Baltimore's driving. We split on Vegas and Kansas City. Kenny, he went 8-5 this week. His best week's 9-7. Worst week was 8-8. So week 2. So you guys had the hotter hand this week. And our guest, Adam, this week he went 5-8, so he didn't do much better. And then Rob Logan of Nova Nation, still our best record here at 7-9. And then our worst week was week 2 for our guest picker. He was 6-10. So I believe that was Johnny Cruz. So that sums up our picks there for the week. Craig, I don't feel great about my picks. Obviously, it's back to the drawing board for you, boy Bodkins.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of red on that left side of the board. I didn't realize that your picks were looking so shaky this week.
Hey, me neither. But I to myself, I don't ever remember what the hell I pick after the show on Wednesday. I don't think about it. I think about it while you guys are talking, and then I make a quick action pick, and then I forget about it until we get back to till I start watching football on Sunday. And then I'm like, shit, who the hell did I pick? So that's just, what it is. All right, Craig, you know what time it is. It's everybody's favorite segment. It is time for our dogs and our turds of the week. Go ahead, Craig. Give me your dog of the week.
So we alluded to earlier just how the Cowboys defense has kind of been what's gotten them to the point that they're at. And again, today against that Rams offense, the Cowboys defense was all over them. Scored a touchdown, had the special teams plays in the backfield all over Matt Stafford the entire game. But like you said, Micah Parsons is an absolute dog, and that is who I'm giving my dog of the week to. Micah Parsons was on the sideline, on the bike, was grimacing in pain in between snaps, but man, when the ball got hiked, didn't miss a beat. Looked like the best player on the football field. And, then when the play was over, he would sit there in pain again, or he would go over on the sideline, be on the bike, come in on third down and make a play. So Micah Parsons, when his team needed him, he was there making plays, helped him get the W. Micah Parsons, my dog of the week.
So Kenny's dog of the week went to the Jets for, the 21 unanswered points, looking like a legitimate football team with Zach Wilson and the boys. So that was Kenny texted me, said the Jets are his dog of the week. So my dog of the week goes to none other than Leonard Fournette. We talked about it, the 10 catches for 65 yards and the touchdown, had a rushing touchdown. He looks like Tom Brady's safety net. Again, the man was said to be written off several times. He can't catch, and then he came in. Everybody was calling him Fat Lenny. Well, guess what? My man Lenny Fournette was dog of the week for what he did. 10 receptions out of the backfield. When somebody says you can't do something and then you say, hey, miss me with that bullshit and catch 10 passes, yeah, you a dog. Hoo, 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 hoo. Lenny Fournette, Bodkin's dog of the week. All right, Craig, go ahead and give us your big old fat turd of the week here.
All right, my big fat turd of the week this week has got to go to the Cleveland Browns. Jacoby Brissett throws that late pick in the end zone when they had a chance to go up. But then Coach Staley just hands it to him on a platter. Here you go, guys. I'm going to make another terrible coaching decision with a minute left to go in a game on a 4th down. Instead of punting it and burying you deep, I'm just going to go ahead and give you the ball on this side of the field. And the Browns still lose the game. They moved the ball a little bit, but they didn't give their kicker the greatest shot, and then he misses the kick. So at the end of the day, Staley earned everything to be the turd of the week. He should be the turd of the week, and the only reason he's not the turd of the week is because the Browns couldn't pull it out. So the Browns have got to be my turd of the week.
Yeah, 100%. Kenny's turd of the week was my Green Bay Packers for having a 10-point lead to the Giants. And we talked about it. No wide receivers, in Green Bay just didn't show up in the second half. Took a plane back home early to Green Bay. They left London. So that was Kenny's turd of the week. Hold on a second. My big old fat turd of the week goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I can't understand you. A couple weeks ago, you beat the brakes off of freaking the Chargers. You're scoring freaking touchdowns. You're hitting Kirk. You're hitting Jones. You got Robinson running wild. You got ETN running wild. And this week, you go up against the Texans at home and you score 0 freaking touchdowns. Get it together, Doug Peterson. Get it together, Trevor Lawrence. There was a time when Trevor Lawrence was anointed to be like the guy of guys. I remember watching him kill people at Clemson. When he was at Clemson in that Alabama game, I said, oh, shoot, there's going to be a guy who's going to run the league. And now you can't even score a freaking offensive touchdown. Get it together, Jacksonville. This was your time to get over the hump, put it up, and now you're letting the Titans take that division lead. Jags are my big old fat stinking turd of the week. So Alan chimed in here. He surprised no one picked Denver. I was going to pick Denver, but I feel like we've picked Denver every week for the last 5 weeks, Alan.
Yeah, Denver's been the turd already at least once or twice, I believe. So one way or the other.
Yeah. Hold on a second. We'll do this real fast. Now it is time. It's time for K&K Fantasy Corner. That's right. It's everybody's second favorite segment. It is K&K's Fantasy Corner. Craig, your stardoms here. You had to review your stardoms this week was Devin Singletary, Deontay Johnson, and David Njoku. I'd say you went 1 of 3 there. Singletary only 6 carries for 1 reception, 46 yards. Deontay Johnson 5 receptions, 60 yards. Njoku though 6 reception, 88 yards, had 14 points. So, I mean, Deontay Johnson had 11. So I'll give you a 2 out of 3 here. How did you feel about your stardoms there?
Yeah, it didn't feel great. Devin Singletary, I mean, a game against Pittsburgh when the Bills are going to score dang near 40, I thought Devin Singletary was going to have a pretty good fantasy day. And then same thing with Deontay Johnson. I figured Pittsburgh going to have to throw the ball all day. Deontay's got to get involved, but George Pickens might be taking over as the number 1 there. So we'll have to see. And then David Njoku, I mean, we've said it now here the last couple of weeks. He's dang near turning into an every week starter. He's outside of Amari Cooper. He's the best pass catching threat they have on the Browns. So I feel like he's going to be getting quite a bit of work.
Yeah, and then at Kenny Stardom, we'll give him 2 out of 3 here. Kareem Hunt, 11 carries, 3 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Devontae Smith had 10 receptions, 87 yards. His Tyler Conklin, absolutely zilch here, 0 receptions, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns. So he got the old donut. So that's almost double native. Greg, your sit-ems here were spot on, my friend. James Conner, 9 carries, 1 reception, 63 yards. He only had 7 points. Yeah, Allen Robinson's pretty much damn near droppable, 3 receptions, 12 yards. And then Dalton Schultz, he had 0 points. So you nailed it here in the sit-em.
I did get about that lucky there because James Conner and Dalton Schultz both got hurt, banged up, and didn't play a full game. So I mean, I'll take the credit, but I did get a help there.
Yeah, Kenny did not do so well here in his sit-ups. I'd give him the 0 for 3 here because all 3 of these guys hit on at least 10 points or above. I mean, if you're playing McLaurin as your wide receiver too, you might be in danger. But if you're playing him as a flex like I am, you're all right with 12 points. But 10 carries, 3 reception, 13 yards for Travis Etienne. Terry McLaurin, 5 receptions, 76 yards. Tyler Higbee, 7 receptions, 46 yards. Kenny even updated and got us our top performers of the week, our quarterback top performers, your top 5. Jared Allen with damn near 40 points. Jalen Hurts with 27. Geno with 26. Kirk Cousins with 22. Carson with 20. Your top 5 running backs here. Austin Eckler with 36. I mentioned Lenny Fournette with 35. Breece Hall at 28. Derrick Henry at 27. Nick Chubb at 26. And then you look at Gabe Davis led the way with wide receivers. Justin Jefferson, Tyler Lockett, Cooper Kupp, and Brown. And then you look at the tight ends, Hill, Gobert, Njoku, and Hurst, and Ingram all led the way. Craig, go ahead and give us your fantasy stud and duds of the week here.
My stud of the week, you saw him there on the tight end list. Number 1, I got to go with Taysom Hill. You're going to get a couple games a year where Taysom Hill just explodes, and today was one of them. He was projected at 2.3 fantasy points, and he put up 41.9. Had 3 rushing touchdowns, threw for a touchdown, had 112 yards on the ground, 69 yards as a returner, 22 yards passing. He was just kind of the ultimate Swiss Army knife that he can be sometimes. And like I said, this was the Taysom Hill game. So fantasy purposes, if you had Taysom Hill starting in your tight end spot this week, stud of the week.
And who's your absolutely dud of the week?
My dud of the week this week, I looked around and you could go anywhere in Detroit. St. Brown had a bad game. Hawkinson had a bad game. Williams had a bad game. So ultimately, I'm going to give it to Jared Goff because Jared Goff had a bad game, and Jared Goff kind of facilitates that offense. So when all the receivers, the running backs, just everything is not working, I'm going to go with the quarterback here. Jared Goff only put up 4.8 fantasy points this week. He had an interception, had a fumble, no touchdowns, just a real rough outing, especially from what was probably expected because what we've been getting out of Jared Goff lately. So this week was just dud.
All right, Craig, and then I know we usually do waiver wire, but I feel like the waiver wire is already thinned out here. So let's do some, buy high, sell low guys. Give me 2 guys that you're trying to buy high right now, and then 2 guys you're trying to sell.
All right, guys, I'm trying to buy right now. I'm looking at Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen right now in our league is wide receiver number 37. So he's on the cusp of a flex play at wide receiver, but he's getting the targets, man. Last 4 games, 7, 8, 9, 7. He's had 8 targets in the red zone, only got 1 touchdown. So I feel like the touchdowns are coming because the target share is there. So Adam Thielen. I know Justin Jefferson is the workhorse there. Irv Smith is getting his share too, but I feel like Adam Thielen's a guy that you might be able to get at a bargain, and he can produce you some wide receiver 2 type numbers when he's getting in the end zone.
And who's your other buy guy?
So I had Adam Thielen as my wide receiver. Running back, I'm going to go with A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon right now, he's the only double-digit game he's had this week in fantasy was week 1. So he's been a single-digit fantasy player, every week besides week 1. But, again, he's a guy that's getting the touches. He's averaging a little over 14 touches a game. And as the weather gets colder up in Lambeau and across the north where Green Bay is going to be playing games, I feel like A.J. Dillon is just going to be – his 14 touches is going to become 18 touches. So I feel like a guy like A.J. Dillon that's just not performing right now in fantasy, if his owner is trying to sell him and I can get him at a decent bargain, he's the guy I'd have my eye on.
Now, who's 2 guys you're trying to sell right now?
If I can sell right now, Antonio Gibson, I am selling him as quick as I can. Right now, Antonio Gibson is RB19. So if you can get kind of an RB2 to high-end flex package for him, I would do it. Antonio Gibson, every week so far in the first 5 weeks, his touches has slightly went down each and every week. His fantasy points have slightly went down each and every week. And now Robinson is back. J.D. McKissick is always getting his share of the backfield too. So I just do not feel great about Antonio Gibson going forward, giving me the production for what I drafted him as and kind of what he's given me here early on. So if I can deal Antonio Gibson and get a pretty decent package in return, I'm doing that.
And give me your last before we get out of here, your sell.
And then my wide receiver sell, if I can right now, might sound crazy, man, but Hollywood Brown, he's listed as wide receiver 7. So if I can get a top 10 wide receiver return for Hollywood Brown right now, I'm going to do it. Hollywood Brown, his target share has been crazy. He's getting, like 12, 14, 17 targets in his last 4 games, double-digit targets every single game. And DeAndre Hopkins is coming back, so I think some of that target share is going to go away. I think Hollywood Brown is still going to be a very good fantasy player moving forward, but I don't think he's going to be the top 10 wide receiver that you have on your hands right now. So if you need a piece, even a high-end piece, I feel like Hollywood Brown, where he's sitting right now, is a top 10 wide receiver. If I can deal him high, I'm doing that.
All right, Craig. Before we get out of here, we're about a quarter of the way through the season now, obviously after 5 weeks. Give me, just and football knowledge, it doesn't have to be fantasy because I'll give mine as well. Your most disappointing team, and then we'll do most surprising team.
Most disappointing team, I don't want to go the easy route and go the Broncos because we've already talked about them. And I don't want to get too premature with saying this because a lot of it depends on how tomorrow goes, but I'm going to stick in that division and go with the Raiders. I know the Raiders won last week, but the start that they've had so far this season is not what they wanted. I mean, they're basically in a spot to where here week 5 playing at Arrowhead is a must-win game, and I don't think that's where you want to be. If you're the Raiders, because that is a tough game to have to pull out. The Raiders always play tough at Arrowhead, but I feel like that's not where you want to be. So early awards right now, I'm going to give it to the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, we could go the Broncos if you wanted to go. I feel like that too. I'm going to say Arizona. They've looked, and I say Arizona because they extended Kyler, gave him that huge contract. Extended, Cliff Kingsbury gave him a huge contract. Extended their GM even, I think. They extended everybody, and they look like absolutely dog crap. They're really should be just have one win. Their Raiders collapse in the fourth quarter from being 1-4 instead of 2-3. It just looks awful here for the Cardinals. Their offense just looks bad. I mean, and they got weapons even without D-Hop. And maybe it'll come back around once D-Hop's there, but it does not look good for Arizona, whether it's Kyler Murray, Cliff Kingsbury, or whoever it is. A lot of questions in Arizona for a team that was looking to make that next jump after last year's playoff run. Craig, go ahead and give me your most surprising team.
So I'm going to give a consolation award to most disappointing and throw Pittsburgh out there because I feel like that. I mean, we knew they were going to have some issues, but with Mike Tomlin there, I mean, I just didn't think it was going to be as bad as it is. If we're going to go most surprising team, I feel like it's hard to get out of the NFC East. Philly, Dallas, Giants, all being where they're at are all kind of surprising to me, especially with where Dallas is at quarterback, missing Dak. I feel like preseason, if you would have told me that the Cowboys are going to be without Dak for 4 out of the first 5 games, and those are going to be the only 4 games that they won, I would think you're crazy. Like we said earlier, if you would have told me that the Giants are going to be 4-1, I would think you're crazy. But I guess if I got to give it to somebody, I'm going to have to give it to Philly because they're the only undefeated team in football. If you would ask me in the preseason who the only undefeated team in football would be in Week 5, the Eagles probably would have been about like my 12th guess. So I'm going to go with Philly.
Yeah, Alan's chiming in here. He said the Rams. He'd say the Rams. I would agree. The Rams obviously been the Super Bowl champs and having a losing record through 5 games is disappointing. I never would have guessed that. I'm kind of with you on the Cowboys, but I'm going to give it to the Giants. And 4-1. If you would have told me, hey, what's the over/under on Giant wins for the year at 5.5, I probably would have almost took the under, right? Like, I mean, beginning of the season, I'm like, there's no way. And then you caveat that in as in like they just haven't had any receivers either. So, and they're still winning games. Kudos to Brian Daboll. Looks like they got the right coach there finally in New York. I mean, I'm still not high on Danny Dimes, but Saquon looks to be back and ready. At 4-1, give it to the New York Giants because I just never would say I would never even think that they would win 4 games maybe throughout the year, much less in the first quarter of the season here.
If the Giants can keep it going and make the playoffs, I mean, what did they do with Danny Dimes?
That's a good question. Yeah, good question. Good question. Who knows? I mean, as a Giants fan, you want them to make the playoffs, but at the same time, you almost want them to stink so they move on from them, right? It's like
I feel like they've got to make noise. I mean, if they get in as a wild card and lose a game, you still move on from it.
Yeah, Alan said here, most surprising he would say is Atlanta, just for the fact they've competed in most of their games and one bad call from possibly being 3-2. They were projected to be the number 1 pick. Yeah, I kind of agree with. I mean, you could say Atlanta as well. Arthur Smith,
Seattle out there, just because I mean, Seattle's another team that they've already just about matched the win total that I had them picked for the entire season. So, and they've looked a whole lot better, even in their losses.
Yeah, they looked like a competent football team. The Atlanta, Seattle, they've looked even bad in their losses. You're right. Kudos to them.
Atlanta's kind of establishing themselves as a whole new football team here. I mean, they had the Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. I mean, the Roddy White days. Atlanta has been this, pass, throw the ball, high-powered offense, and they're just trying to be a run the ball team. They're trying to play a little more gritty football down there and changing the culture, changing the identity, and it seems like they're doing it pretty quickly.
Yeah, kudos to Arthur Smith and even what's Seattle's coach? Pete Carroll. Kudos to those guys, because I think a lot of people left them for dead, and they look good. They look a lot worse teams. So, I mean, Carolina to me looks like the worst team in the league. The Redskins are not Commanders. Sorry. They would probably be in the bottom 5. So just a lot of, those teams right there. I mean, I know Detroit's only got 1 win, but they've been in every game outside of today. I don't know where I would put them. They're disappointing because I thought they could maybe get second in our division. The Bears are a bottom team. I know they're in a rebuild team, so they're not really disappointing either because they're kind of what you thought they would be.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of saying that earlier. I mean, the Bears, they're not supposed to be any good, so I don't know that you can call them a disappointment. I feel like the main thing that the Bears are shooting for is just to see growth out of Justin Fields and just kind of see what they got, man. The Bears are in a spot where they got a lot of money to spend this offseason, and they just need to see, who on the roster is going to stick around for the future.
Yeah, I'm 100%. There's teams that are rebuilding, and you're just like, hey, they're supposed to stink. The Jets might be a little surprising at 3-2. I mean, have a winning record. Zach Wilson 2-0 as a starter there. So who knows what some of those games might have looked like if he was there full time.
Hey, we check back here in 5 more weeks. Week 10, we do this, and it's going to be a whole different list of teams, probably.
Yeah, exactly right. Once we get through the pre-season or next half of the season, halfway through, then we'll be able to understand. Alan's chiming in. Got the Commanders Thursday in Chicago, Craig. We'll be able to, speaking of that, this is where we'll wrap it up. Good point right here. We'll preview that game on our Wednesday show. Hopefully, I am not looking forward to that game. It's probably going to be another snooze fest just as bad as the Colts and Broncos games was. Sorry about it, Amazon. Hey, but this has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show. Craig, as always, I appreciate you joining me, chiming in. Kenny's doing some homework, so he couldn't be with us, but got the slides made and was a big help anyway, so we always appreciate that. So, folks, we'll be back here Wednesday night, 8:30 Central for our Week 6 preview show. We'll pick all the games against the spread. It'll be me and Craig. Kenny hopefully will be able to join us again. We'll have another special guest picker, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll be back on here tomorrow night with Tanner, Buffoon, and Bodkin's special Monday Night Football. Chiefs-Raiders will be talking throughout the game, so I'm excited. We'll have the Gamecast on guest as well. So be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Hit that subscribe button, share. You know what to do. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Head over there, give it a nice little 5-star rating. We appreciate y'all. I'm going to hit that outro. For me and Craig, we say thank you. You guys have a great rest of the week. Holiday tomorrow for some of us, so enjoy that. Enjoy your time off. Spend some time with your family. We'll see you Wednesday night for our Week 6 preview. Oh.